Welcome everyone this evening to our session with Contact. Thank you for joining us. I know it's difficult coming out sometimes in the evening. We're going to be discussing introduction to parent care participation and how you can have your voice heard.
It's a good evening to all. It's a wonderful day to be. I think we've had a good time for the conference, and it's a good day to have us along and share introduction to parent care forum. I hope you have had a good day, and this webinar will be good and interesting for you all.
So we're going to start off by introducing ourselves. My name is Ruth Hobbs and I'm the chair of Somerset Parent Care Forum. I'm also an associate for Contact and part of the NNPCF national representatives. Richard, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Ruth. I'm Richard Jaramba from Leicester City Parent Care Forum. I'm the chair. I'm also the national rep for East Mids or for Leicester City. I'm also a contact trainer.
Thank you, Richard. So I'm going to try, hopefully you'll be able to see my slides in a minute. Okay, so please do bear with us if there are any technical problems this evening. Hopefully there won't be any, but hopefully now you can see this introductory slide. If there are any problems, then please just pop them into the chat. And somebody will help you. So there's lots of attendees this evening, so everyone's going to remain muted throughout the presentation. If you do have any questions, then there is a question icon on your toolbar, which you'll see at the bottom of this slide. If you click on that, then you'll be able to type a question in and we will see it as presenters, and also the lovely Helen from Contact, who is doing all the technical bits, and Sue will be able to help and answer those questions as we move through. So the aims of the session this evening is to learn a little bit about parent care participation, the role of parent care forums. We're going to hear about how parent care forums help to improve services locally, find out a little bit about the NNPCF, and also how you can get involved in your local parent care forum. So to kick us off, we're going to start off with a video. It's always nice to hear from people that are in forums themselves about what they do and how you could get involved. So fingers crossed the technology is going to work.
I'd see a familiar face as well. Or I will be a familiar face after this.
Okay.
Parent carer forums are a group of parent carers that come together to represent other parent carers within their community. Parent carer forum representatives do this role for a number of reasons. Many of us feel passionately, strongly about making sure that all of our families are appropriately represented, and we all feel that we are best placed because we experience that, and our shared experience as a collection of individuals helps to reinforce the reality of what we feel and what we experience.
Without our members, I think any forum doesn't mean anything. Having our voices all collected together gives us a greater opportunity and a better impact in getting results done nationally and in our local authority.
It has made us more comfortable in being parents of a child with special needs. We get to walk alongside people that are going through the same issues as us, but also we can also speak to and work with authorities and also make the lives of our children that much better, because we get the information that we need for us to be empowered to make the decisions that our children need.
Well, being there right at the beginning, there were a lot of closed doors, and I think the biggest achievement has been opening those doors and actively engaging with all the professionals who tended to talk down to us before, but actually working in an equal partnership. It has built my confidence. It also makes me feel as if I've become a bit of an expert around disability.
I think it's really important that the local authorities are helped to understand where we are coming from, and that we're actually trying to work towards the same goal, which is better outcomes for the disabled children.
We're all learning how to write policies, how to implement policies, how to deal with difficult situations with different volunteers. So it's been a really interesting overwhelming journey, but again positive because we are all fighting to make it better for our children.
There's a huge importance in building good relationships with your local authority and other agencies within the area, and it needs to be built on trust and respect and honesty that can withstand the challenge that forums can give them.
Joint working is important because in that way we can get to communicate better, we can get our views out more to the people, and the forum will be more productive.
We consistently as forums know some of the answers to help the professionals in our lives, whether that's nationally, regionally, locally, to make a difference. They're not all difficult, it's not rocket science, some of it's really simple, it doesn't all need money, and that actually we have all got those same learning for our individual areas, and that makes forums really key, working with their local professionals as well to make a change.
I think some of the determination, the knowledge, the experience that parent carers have can be utilised to create solutions that will really work. And I think it's by listening and working with this group of people that I believe we've got the determination and the wherewithal to change things for the better.
We do this because it's important to us that what we've experienced, whether it be good, bad or ugly, helps to change the future and make everything a better, brighter place for our young people to live in. And if we can do that now, and we can support other forums and other representatives to come forward so that they can continue doing that in the future, why wouldn't we want to do this?
Okay, with us while we move back to the slides. I'm hoping you'll be able to see them in a minute.
All right. I think the first slide is my slide.
It is over to you. I'm just going to, there you go.
All right, thank you very much. I think you've noticed by just that film clip, it talks about what it means to be in a carer forum. So parent carer participation can happen in different ways. But one of the, well, we've got two ways that we can mention here. So it's one on the individual level, where we as parents go into meetings to discuss our EHCPs for our children, or anything that leads to that, where it's individual basis. That is one of the ways that we do that, and we influence the way that services are provided for our own children, which is whether one child but it's family engaging with practitioners. That's one way. But then we also have the strategic participation, where we become a forum, and this is where local parents gather together and form the forum to engage in almost the same things that we do on an individual basis, where we speak to the council about provision that is meant for our children, so that it is fit for purpose, that our kids get the best service that makes them live a better life. And I think those are the main ways that you can participate in this, and it even goes to a national level at some stage. But let's talk about those two first. Over to Ruth, I think, for the next slide.
Thank you, Richard. So what are the benefits of involving families in service design? As parent carers, we can really pinpoint what the challenges are that are usually being experienced by local families. We can also highlight examples of good practice across education, health and social care for both children and adults, and we can explain what it's like for people that are using those services. And our insights and knowledge are invaluable really to practitioners, because by listening to us and involving us, then they can understand the services and they can make sure that they meet the needs of local families. Richard, over to you.
Okay, so what is a parent carer forum? This is quite interesting, because you have many meetings that we go to as parents, and some of these are not really parent carer forums. But what we want to establish is what it is, not what it is not. It is not a support group. We are there to influence the service provision for our kids. Parent carer forum is a group of parents and carers of children with young people under the ages of 25 with additional needs. Now, when I say this, there's the word that is used, which is SEND. We will talk about that. But you also have the word which is SEN, which is additional needs. Those parents as well are involved within the forums, and they can become part of it in terms of being participants, and also become part of the management, which is the steering group of the forum. And this is basically what so you have to have a child with needs that is going to school with the needs that have been diagnosed, which becomes SEND, or the needs that are being met by school, which is SEN. And maybe we'll explain a bit more as we go along with that. Back to Ruth.
Thank you, Richard. I think the other thing to remember is that all of our forums will have some form of steering group that oversees the role of the forum and make sure that they are listening to local parents and collecting that intelligence. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go along. So what is the benefit of being in a forum? So I'm going to look at this really from two sides. So the benefits for local families as a collective. So there's the ability to reflect back what services are really like for children and young people. And actually for people that are commissioning those services, they really need that intelligence to make the services work properly. That then means that we are in a position to support the improvement of local services so they can meet the needs of families. And there's also the ability for forums to feed into regional and national policy discussions. One of the things that parents learn being involved in the forum is that there are things that locally we are unable to change and need to be changed at a national level, but that will make things better for local families. In addition to that, there are individual benefits of being involved in a forum. It can often build your confidence. It gives you an opportunity to use your skills. Some of the families that join our forums have had to give up work, but they have a lot of skills and a lot of knowledge that they're able to use. It's about being part of a team. It's also working with others locally, regionally and nationally within that network. And one of the beautiful things about being in a forum is that it is flexible about your personal circumstances. Because the forum is made up of parent carers, we understand that things happen in the parent carer world, as I like to call it. And we know that there will be times that something happens, like for me today, I had to go dash over and collect a child from school. And that's fine. There is an understanding in forums that that's going to happen and that things will change. I have permission to share with you an experience of somebody from in my forum and how they've been able to, what it's really meant for them to be involved in the forum in Somerset. So I'm not going to mention them by name, but anybody on the call that's in the Somerset area will know who I'm talking around. So this particular member joined our forum, and I think it's fair to say when she first joined, she was quite nervous. And she was quite worried about getting involved in meetings and didn't feel that she was confident enough. And I can remember one of the very first conversations that I had with her was, I'm happy to run a coffee morning with somebody else, but don't you dare stick me in front of people to do a presentation. And she was really, really nervous about it. She didn't want to attend strategic meetings. But what I can say is that working with her and seeing her grow has been absolutely amazing. She is now very confident. She will attend meetings. She will even do presentations. And that confidence and that building of confidence has just been so lovely for all of us to be able to see that and to see how she's developed. So if you are nervous about getting involved in a forum, try to remember that experience and to see that actually there's nothing to be scared of. We're all parent carers and we're here as a team to work together and to support you and to help you. So Richard, back over to you.
Back over to me. Yeah. So I think with those stories, I think it's quite essential, because the role of parent carer forums today is essential in that respect, because it's not about just you using the skills that you have, but it's also developing new skills. So I think some of us have managed or have developed skills to join and manage things, which I might not have had, but it's one of those, and I'm getting to use other skills that I might have had but have not used before. And I think, but let's go back to how these forums exist. So in the first remit of a forum is actually to work with the authorities, and also to make sure that the services that are being offered to our children actually improve the quality, and also the quality of the outcomes for our children. And these come from us having collective views. So this is collective views. When I say collective views, this is all parents, just like I would want the best for my child, but we collect the views of all parents, and we speak to the authorities, and we say this needs to happen this way, and this needs to happen that way. And this is the way that we actually improve how the services are provided for our children. Then they use then they can use these views and feedbacks in the local authorities, and also in health provision, and to bring about better services. I think just some nerves here. I think I'll get used to, I'll start speaking nicely in a bit, so don't worry about me. So these are some of the things that we've learned to use to speak in places like this as well. So in presenting something like this, we do these things every day, and we speak to people that are in high positions, and we speak about the provision for our children. We will learn to do this together, and we will present the views from all parents, and that is very important, which is something that we do as the forum, and we make sure that the services are provided in a way that improves the lives of our children. But these things are done from the idea that we are given a mandate from government through the law. And can I have a slide? The next slide, please.
Yes, of course, you're doing a brilliant job, Richard. Don't worry. We're all hating these platforms. It's getting used to it, isn't it?
Yeah. They're not support groups. So even though we provide opportunities where families meet and share views, but the idea that we're there is actually to make sure that we get the voices of all families, to make sure that the services that are our aim is actually to make sure that we improve services. Forums represent the collective views which we have talked about from the individual, and also we gather them as a forum, and we become a collective view, and those views are put forward to the local authorities. Forums are actively working to extend their membership, which is what we aim to do. Although it can be difficult to get in new people and new membership, I think this is something that we have to make sure we do that actively. And also this means that we need to understand that every member's voice is very essential. So every new member is also essential in the aspect that as our kids, some of us grow older, those are the kids that are going to have the services, and their parents need to speak to the services, and their kids also need to get the benefits of the services. And also the things that my child is receiving now are for him and his age group. But with future kids, they will have different views and different things that need to be catered for. So this is where we need to keep encouraging new members to come in, and things that will be changing as well. In as much as the law is changing, provision is also changing. So we need new voices to speak to those provisions. The next slide, please, Ruth.
Yeah. I think I just echo what Richard's just said, and I think that the video said it beautifully. That person said, without our members, we're nothing.
Yeah, we really are, because I think every member's voice is very, very essential in this. The independence of forums, I think, was we get funding. Our funding comes from the Department of Education, and we operate with that freedom that our funding gives us the voice to speak on behalf of other parents to the needs that we need to improve the systems. And this is essential, because if we do not have that independence, we're in essence enabling the system, and we will not speak to the voices. We will not get the change that is needed for our children. And the law specifies that we need that freedom. So we operate from that freedom, which is why as well we understand that voices will be different. And this is why we collect the different voices to become one voice that speaks to one system, to make sure that everything works for all the people that are involved. If it was just for me and my family, the changes that I would require would be just for me. But I have to understand as a forum rep as well that there is independence in this, which means we are the voices of other parents is very, very essential. The role of forums is to be independent, which is what I've just been reiterating. So they operate we have an memorandum of understanding, which gives us the freedom. I remember I was doing our local offer, and we had to produce some of this information to the council, and sometimes you have to then get to understand, but some of these things are not, when you're a new member, you might not get to understand how these things work. But in as much as you get involved, you get to a point where you then use the freedom that you have within the Families Act, and you can empower change for yourself and also for the forum. Was there certain things that when we speak, they've got to happen within that aspect. But also, let me just touch on something that is, because we operate within the freedom that we have been given in our independence, but it doesn't mean that we are lawless in what we do. A lot of what we do then has to be according to the law, and this is something that is essential, because we are also enforcing the law. We are also acting in part or as the law demands. And one thing that is essential is that of GDPR. And this is, we collect information, we collect people's information. So what we collect has got to be in line with the law. And when we get new membership, it will be, if I can just say, because you need a database for all the people that are within the forum, you need to find a way that works that also complies with the law.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I just move us on to how forums work, we'll talk around that side of things. So the main role about forums, as we said, is it's not the steering group or the representative's voice that we're feeding back. It is that collective view of our families. And obviously, for us to be able to do that, we need to collect that view. And as forums, we acknowledge that there is no one method that everybody likes. So we can't send out a survey and everybody in our area is going to complete that survey, because that doesn't work for everybody. That's the reality of where we are. So we use a variety of methods, and forums up and down the country use this all the time. So it could be surveys, it could be more informally through coffee mornings, it could be events, it could be feedback from individuals that we're having conversations with, or via email. It could be our social media or our websites. And all of that information we can use to influence at a strategic level, to provide reports and to influence co-production opportunities. But as Richard's just previously mentioned, we have to work within the law. And part of that obviously is the GDPR side of things. So if you become a member of your forum, you take part in a survey, or you take part in providing feedback at an event, what we would reassure you is that that would be handled sensitively. We would not share any information that would identify you, and all of that would be stored in a way that was legally compliant. So I think that's something that Richard and I were quite keen to get across this evening, is that there is no risk about talking to the forum. The forum isn't going to go and share your information far and wide. We will ask you and have conversations with you if we want to use an individual case study, for example, before we do that. And that would be discussed with you and make sure you are absolutely happy before we took that forward. So what we're going to talk about now is what do we mean by participation? I think it's fair to say that participation potentially has been used as a bit of a buzzword, and can often be a bit confusing around what participation is, not just within parents but also within providers. So to help us, there's several different things that we can use, but we've chosen to pick the ladder of participation that was designed by Roger Hart, which is on the screen now. And I think it's really key to understand that participation isn't a tick box exercise to fulfill a requirement by a service. We're not there just to make up numbers. So to help us understand what true participation and co-production is, we're going to look at some of these areas, particularly the amber and the green areas, so that we can see what good participation looks like. So Richard, over to you.
The role of information, I think this goes back to what we were talking about again, the law, but also information in terms of like the provision of information does not involve the sharing of knowledge or experience. Participation is more than being provided with information or changes. I think this, the idea here is to understand that whatever information that we're sharing, it's not just, like if the council comes to us and say, okay, we have done this and there you are, we are telling you. They're just giving us information to say, okay, this is what we've done. There's no co-production within that, and that is the point that hierarchy of a co-production will show you. We have to be involved with the planning processes. Sometimes we have to be involved in the review processes, and we take the numbers off. Like, let's say if it's something that our kids use, how many kids actually use it, and is it fit for purpose? Are the parents satisfied? Do we have injuries and all those things? Those are things that we can use. There are so many tools that you can use to review services, and this is important as parent care reforms. We do this, and that's the kind of information that we then share to our LAs to make sure that what we are having actually meets the services that it is set to provide. And we have to be part of the processes, and we have to know, the idea is not just having the information, but we have to know why it is being done, how it is being done. Are there any other ways of doing it that are better off? Knowledge is an essential ingredient. Oh, Ruth. I was
My mouse had a bit of a moment on its own there.
I know, yeah.
I'm just
so knowledge.
You, Richard.
Yeah, let me get back to reading. So it's knowledge is an essential ingredient in sharing effective services that best meet local needs. This is where the idea of information, participation, co-production, and review of services is essential. We need to know what's going on. Parents should be informed about any process changes in the services, and we should be invited to give feedback. Sometimes even on ongoing projects, we can actually then say, look, it's not working nicely. And the final decision has got to have us involved in it, and that is essential because that is what we're here for. And this is was the final decision is actually in improving the lives of our children. And I think when you get to that point, we would have done our work before then. Can I hand this back to you, Ruth, if there's anything I've left there?
No, thank you, Richard. That was very helpful. So I think we're clear that there is a role for information, because information can really help us to understand what's happening. But consultation and moving into participation, it's much more than that. And consultation also can't be that tick box exercise, can it, Richard? It really has to be before any decisions are made.
I think yeah, that's especially for all forums. I think when you talk of the idea of tick box exercises, that's very essential. When they come to us with tick box exercise, it's very annoying. I'll give this back to Ruth.
Yeah, so participation. So this is really moving on from consultation. I'm just conscious I've just spotted a question in the chat. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Once it goes live, you are more than welcome to share this on your social media platform. As long as I don't have to watch myself back, I'm absolutely
that's what's been making me so cringe, like I've been doing, because I'm thinking about my voice living on after this. But anyway, it's good. I think if it improves our services, it's fine by me.
Absolutely. So you're participating. Good example of how to participate. So effective parent care participation happens when parents have conversations with practitioners and work alongside with them. So it's not just about reviewing a service, but it's actually all the stages through. So it's the design stage, the development, really evaluating how services are working. And that the benefits of participation are that actually practitioners understand what needs to happen to develop services so that they're fit for purpose. I can imagine working in a commissioning service. There's nothing worse than commissioning a service and then finding that nobody uses it. So it's really, it's absolutely key to be working with the people that need to know that. And working together, you're able to share knowledge and to find solutions. And I think that's one of the key things about parent carer forums. We don't just present a problem, we work to find a solution and a way forward and what needs to happen next.
I think, yeah, you're touching on very good essential things. Because it's so annoying when these things are done in terms of like not getting the parents involved. I think sometimes, whether it's in the idea of doing things that people are commissioned to do, they are commissioned to do those things with people, and that is where the idea of co-production is essential. We are there to actually help the system. We know the needs of our children, and meeting those needs is something that we can pinpoint even blindfolded. And just the idea of acknowledging that we're there, I think, will make it easier even for the people that are doing the services to just do it spot on every time that they do it when we're involved. Ruth, sorry to take that part, but yeah.
Right. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? When we talk about co-production, it is about that shared ownership and that shared working together. So I'm gonna, obviously you will all get a copy of the slides afterwards, and yes, I'm happy for it to go on websites. I'm feeling slightly nervous about this, but it's all good, it'll be fine. It will be available on the contact website afterwards anyway. So I wanted to give you the example of the local offer. So I'm really hoping that everybody on the call knows what the local offer is, but just in case, it is the website that has to be produced by your council to show what services are available for local families. Now, local offers should be designed and co-produce with their families as a starting point. So there should be that coming together to build what it looks like to start with. From that point onwards, it should be a continual cycle. So as families use the local offer, they will be finding things, for example, that are missing. Or they might find things that actually that service has changed a little bit now, and maybe it's a different contact number, or actually they've changed some of the things that they're delivering. So they will be hopefully providing that feedback through the mechanism that should be in your local offer. And that should then be influencing the commissioning in your area. So for example, if your council had, say, I don't know, 50 parents, so all looking for a particular service around autism, we'll use autism as an example, that should trigger to them that, hold on a minute, we've got a big group of parents here that are looking for this service, maybe we've got a gap. And that should then start the cycle again of where actually we now have a conversation about what is the need, how do we co-produce this, where do we start, and the cycle starts all over again of co-production. So that's sort of a brief explanation of how it works, if that makes sense. I'm going to be slightly rebellious, because you know me, and I'm going to go to some of the questions now rather than waiting to the end. So there's a few questions that have come in that I just wanted to pick up. So one of the questions is around where would you go if you're on the call and you don't understand how your forum is implementing some of these things that we've talked about, or you've got any queries. There is processes that you can use, so contact can support the forum and they can help the forum develop.
That's true.
That's one of the things. There's also, if you think that your local authority are not following the law, so that's one of the questions that's been asked. There's lots of services out there that can support. So there's the information and advice support service. So your, so for example, most of them are called Sendias, your local Sendias service. There's also the opportunity to phone the free contact helpline and speak to one of the people on that helpline. I'm going to put my hands up and say I've done it multiple times to get advice around things. not just at an individual level, but also as a forum level, just to check my thinking's right. And they are very, very helpful. So if you've got any queries, I absolutely would suggest that you do that. And what we will do is make sure that number and information is goes out with the slides when the slides. So I've had somebody say that they highly recommend their local SENDIA service, so that's lovely to hear. There's a couple more questions I'm going to do as I go through. As I said, you know, I've gone for it now, so let's go with it. Training for practitioners, absolutely, there is training for practitioners out there.
Yes.
Train. There is also on the website a key quality indicators for co-production. I probably said that wrong, but that's sort of what it's called, which I've used locally, and I know other forums have used, and that's a brilliant piece of work that was done by one of our forums, building partnership relationship, and what does good co-production look like, and it really gets down to the nitty-gritty of what it feels like. So if you haven't seen those, I would suggest that you go and have a look on there. Advice for small forums with very few volunteers and the best way to expand. What I would say to you is go and have a look on the website. There are loads and loads of these webinars. I'm slightly shooting myself in the foot here because I know a couple of them are mine. But go and have a look at those. There's some really good ones about how you can use technology to grow your forum. There's ones about how to engage with different groups of parents. So there's lots and lots on there. And ultimately, if you need support, that's what your contact advisor is there for. And also the national network. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. And I think if we move on to that, that'll be really, really helpful. So I'm just going to hopefully move the slide on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how forums work with other organisations and groups. So we mentioned the lovely SENDIA service. So forums don't do that individual work, as we said, but actually they will signpost you. So they will signpost you to SENDIA. They'll signpost you to contact IPSI, local charities, local organisations that can support you. Parent care forums also invite other organisations to events. So we talked earlier on about, you know, informal information gathering through coffee mornings. Well, you'll find that they actually invite people to those, so you can directly talk to people yourselves and meet with people that are providing services. Although the forum doesn't campaign because of the grant conditions, you can't use your grant funding to do campaigning, that doesn't mean you can't work with groups that are campaigning. And there's lots of examples of how that's worked effectively to move forward. So sharing of information, making sure that that campaign group's voice is being heard at meetings. There's lots of stuff that you can access either through the NNPCF website or the contact website to advise you around that. And the other thing that I wanted just to talk about very briefly, and you will find details of this on the contact website, is around how forums can work with other support groups. So forums, as we mentioned earlier on, are what we class as pan-disability, and I think that term confuses quite a few people, but basically we welcome everybody and anybody that's got a child that has an additional need. And I think we can then work with condition-specific groups. So for example, if there's a local group that families with Down syndrome, we would work with that group. And what we did, what's happened in the past is there has been some work about how you can gather groups together and in a support group forum model, and all those groups meet together and they're able to share experiences, they're able to share information, and you'll be able to find out what's happening for different families in different areas of your location. And then you'll be able, as a forum, you can feed that back through into those strategic meetings and actually say, do you know what, this is working really well for our families with this condition, but actually our families that have got children with this condition, it's really not working for them because of this and this. What can we do to make this service accessible to them? So there's lots of intelligence gathering as a forum and reaching out to lots of groups and lots of organisations to really bring that all together.
You know, every voice is important, and we've learned the languages, we've learned sometimes it's just by sharing the forum, and you know, when we could eat together, you could get food from different countries and different nationalities, and that was rich in terms of that. So that's forum experience. So there's a lot, but we also learn about the differences in the cultures that other people have and how they deal with issues, and that's equally important. And this is all by being in a forum. So yes, there's so many things that the forum can do for us. So you learn
to actually do things that are essential for your child, for your city, and for the systems to change. And we learn how to speak nicely. Back to Ruth. Sorry, sometimes I...
No, I'm going to move us on because I'm getting by Sue to remind us to keep to time. So the next slide was over to you, Richard, if that's okay, just to talk a bit about the national and the
national
NNPCF.
network. I think here as well was, I would like to quote a few people, was, you know, when we do these things, we get to, within the forum world as well, there are opportunities for you to develop yourself. So every time that you get from, like, I'm in the local forum and then I become a national rep, you get to discuss a lot of these things. So you get to understand how many forums there are in the nation. So we have about 151 forums, but also you get to understand the regions, which is what health run by. So with that, you understand which region and how basically the NHS is divided into these 9 regions or 30. I'm not quite sure. I hope Murno is not listening to this. But yeah, there's so many things that you learn in terms of just by being the forums, individual forums will feed into the regional forum, and then the regional forum into the national forum. So you have all these speaking as one voice, one individual voice coming through in all this. Your voice is essential. So when I say something, or when we say something as a family, it goes to our local forum, and our views are taken up to the regional forum, and that from the regional forum, these are taken up to the national network, and our voice will start or kickstart a change within the national way of doing things, and that will come back to our children, and their lives become that much easier. So the forum, even though it is a singular thing within your city or your rural county, it is also part of a bigger picture. It is part of the regional picture, part of the national picture, and your voice and everyone's voice is as important. And also this shows that we have the support network that is there. Our information is disseminated through these channels, and also you can have the individual support when you need it, not only from contact, but also from NNPCF. And we speak into even Ofsted, we speak into NHS England on a local level, national level, and even regional level. We speak to all these branches of authority as a forum, as an individual first, as a forum, and then region and national.
So I'm just going to come to you, if that's all right, Richard, and just pick up on one of the questions that was asked. So someone's asked a question around the role of the regional reps and the national reps. Now, I'm going to be really conscious that my regional rep is on today. But they're very busy. So basically, there's lots, whereas parent carer forums are representing that sort of local view and attending meetings to share what it's like locally, the regional rep really is doing that, but at a regional level. So I'm Southwest, obviously, and my regional rep, and I'm going to call her my regional rep because she's also my vice chair, she does a lot of work about sharing what it's like as a region, looking at opportunities that for projects and things that we can do as a region, that we can share learning, we can share good practice, we can also share what's not working quite as well, we can brainstorm together. So she does all that support and networking around that. She then takes a lot of the information through to regional meetings with regional leads from NHS England, from the Department for Education, and as part of that, so I'm going to be honest, she's a bit unusual, aren't you, lovely Tina, that's on the call. She also does national work in the sense that she's also the co-chair of the NNPCF. So all of the regional have the opportunity to then feed that up through into the national and to influence it at a national level. And I mentioned earlier, there are some things that as a local forum, we can't change. So for example, policies, if we talk about transport policies, at local level, our local authority has to stick to the law of what the transport regulations are. We can't change that locally. However, by collecting the intelligence across all of those 151 forums through the regional into the national, we can start saying this isn't working for our families. and this needs to change. So it's about that collective voice and that collective influence, and how we can use that to move things forward and to do that. And during COVID, there's been a lot of work taking place within the national network to be able to share what it's like for families on the ground, and to make it real for people that are making the decisions about actually how their decisions are impacting on our daily lives. I'm also just going to pick up and give a shout out to Kayla, who said that brilliant, love to hear this. They do lots of coffee mornings with local SEND team, and that's going down really well with their local families, and that's great to hear that you're trying out some of these. It's really good. So I'm just going to move on to our next slide. You can get involved with your local parent care forum. So if you have a child that's got, or a young person that's got any type of additional need or disability, you are very, very welcome to join the forum. Okay, you don't have to have a formal diagnosis to join the forum, and I think that's something that I would emphasise. As soon as your child's got those additional needs, you will be made very welcome to join. And I'm just going to apologise if I look like I'm looking outside of my head. I'm not looking out of the window. I have a second screen where I've got your questions popping up. So just to put that out there. I think one of the things I would say that potentially may put people off about being involved in a forum is that you can often see people in your forum that are very, very busy, that seem to be doing a lot. Don't be put off by that. Don't be put off thinking that you've got to commit to lots and lots of time to join and support a forum. So I'm going to tell you now, as a chair of a forum, if you came to me and said you can give me an hour a month, I'm going to bite your hand off and absolutely take it. Because any help that you can give is greatly received. And even if it's that you fill in a survey while you're at home, or you complete a poll, or you send us an email that says what your experience is, you know, the good, the bad and the ugly, all of that helps us to, as forums, to be reflective and to really express what is happening for our local families. So there's lots and lots of ways that you can get involved and have those conversations with your forums about how you can do that and how you can get involved.
If I can add a bit there as well, it's not just about the time, but sometimes it's about expertise as well. But also remember, we learn and we teach others. So it's there are always opportunities for us to do that, to exchange the expertise that we have, and also to get other expertise. We have members within our forums that have said, "Oh, I can't do that because I'm not like the story that you're sharing. I'm not confident. I'm not learned enough to do these things." But that's the voice that you have is unique to your child and to your specific circumstances. And the our local authorities need to know that, because if they are going to be writing letters that are very complicated and you cannot read them, that's a point that they need to understand. And if they're writing letters that are not complicated enough for you to engage with, that's also another thing that they need to adjust. So there's always that idea that every voice, every parent, every person, but also remember that within the forum and also with us representing people with additional needs, we also have people with additional needs as parents, and that we understand as forums, and we need to be supportive. We are naturally supportive of that. So I think no voice then can be exempted from being in the forum. No person can be exempted from being in the forum, and we'll do our level best. If you have an hour, like Ruth says, I would welcome that. Please do get in touch, because you give me an hour to sleep, because it gives me that much rest to know that somebody else is taking care of business. And I think before I hand back to Ruth as well, at the moment, was we're having such a diverse people, and also having this COVID has exploded different issues that we never had before, where the communication that we used to do when it was face to face is no longer there. And now we're having to use the internet, these webinars, and you've noticed how these can make people nervous, and we don't see your faces, we don't have that person to person warmth anymore. But also it has also made it harder for us to get the voices of other people. So sometimes we need people to contact people, to speak to them by phone and all that. And those hours that you can give are that essential for us to get every voice to be heard, especially when people are shutting themselves up because of COVID. We need to get every voice heard. Back to you, Ruth.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? With the more people that get involved, the easier it is, because actually you can share the load across. And even if it is, you know, spending 5 minutes just doing a survey, that really does help us. I can't overestimate how much we appreciate it that you take that time to be able to do that. I'm just going to touch on a couple of questions that have come in and actually pick up on something that Richard said earlier on about the fact that you don't have to have that huge bank of knowledge. Gonna be honest, when I started, my knowledge compared to now was very, very small. And I am learning things all the time. I have now learned lots about gaiters and wheelchairs. Don't ask, I've learned lots about it. And it is that learning curve. So somebody has asked about, you know, they've joined a steering group, what training would be really good for them, what would be really helpful. I'm going to be honest, there is a handbook that Contact do for how to run a forum. I would say the forum Bible. It is the how to run a forum, and it answers all the questions that you might have. So if nothing else, that is a really, really good starting point. So just the last sort of slide really is just to say, you know, if you don't know where your local parent carer forum is, if you don't know who is your local parent carer forum, there are two places that you can go to find out. So you can go to the NNPCF website, or you can go to the Contact website, and those links are there for you, and those they will show where your local ones are. I am conscious that sorry, made it clip. Apologies.
Oh yeah.
We do have some questions still, so I'm just gonna try and pick up on some of those if that's okay. You know, if we've been doing being in the forum for a little while, actually we really value new people coming in, because actually that's a fresh pair of eyes. We can fall into the trap of using lots of acronyms and getting so used to working at that strategic level. So having new people in and new people to join us is really good, and it keeps the forum alive and keeps it fresh. So thank you so much for that, because I think that's a really valid point. There have been a few
just to share, like Sue, maybe you could share the websites and the social medias platforms that we have. Ruth, sorry to interrupt you, mate.
Yeah, that's fine. So are you talking around the Contact?
Yeah,
Contact.
I think somebody asked, or has it already been answered? I'm sure. Okay, that has been answered already. Oh.
So the Contact have a website that has lots of information on. There is information for individual parents. There's also individual information for forum members around running the forum, some of what I call the nitty-gritty of the day-to-day work. There's webinars like this one that cover a whole range of subjects, so definitely go on and have a look at those. Even if you've watched them before, just to go back and refresh your mind is really helpful. Sometimes I like to just have them playing in the background while I'm doing other stuff, and actually just to remind myself there's that knowledge again, everybody coming together and sharing experiences. And I think it is about that collective knowledge. I'm just going to pick up on a couple of questions if that's okay. So we've had one member on with us this evening has been asking some questions about their own forum. So if you've got queries about your individual circumstances, I'd like to encourage you to contact, that always sounds a bit weird when I say that, contact at parent.participation@contact.org.uk, and if you email into there, then we'll be able to give you some more information about your own that circumstance that you're discussing with us. I would say that Contact it's the relationship between Contact and forums is that they don't oversee how they operate on a day-to-day basis. We mentioned earlier on about the forums are able to set their own direction, and that will be different depending on the needs of their local families. But Contact's remit is really to make sure that the DFE grant is being used appropriately, and to provide the support to forums. But if you would like to get in contact with Contact, then please do use that email, and somebody will come back to you and have a conversation about some of the things that you've talked about. And then Okay, so then another here we go. Another one. If a parent lives near the border of areas with different parent forums, do they have to become members of the group where they pay their council tax to? That's a very complicated one. So that does happen. So I'm going to say Somerset. Tina, who's on the call, will agree with me. We border everybody and their best friend. That tends to be how I describe it. And actually, it's about where your children access services, not just about where you live. So have a conversation with your local forums, and collectively they'll be able to support you. So in Somerset, we have parents, for example, that live in Somerset, that their children are educated in Dorset. We work very well with our local Dorset forum, so it's about those connections across the two, and some intelligence will need to be fed into the Dorset forum and some information we need to fed into Somerset. So it's just about those links, but talk to both forums and they'll be able to support you as to which is the best one for you, and it might be you join both.
Yeah, and also with that, I think you have to be very sensible about that conversation as well, because sometimes it can lead, it can be a fiery one.
Yeah, and I think it's about finding what works for each individual case, because in those situations it's very different, isn't it? And we will have families, for example, that might live in an area, but their child is in a residential placement somewhere else. So it's just about the pragmatics. And actually, if you talk to those forums, they'll work with you to find a solution that's right for you, and to find an answer as to what's going to work.
In the meantime, whilst Ruth is getting some more questions, just to say, at the moment, well, some forums are struggling for I think it would be nice to contact your contact advisor and see how they can work out with you getting administration and all that stuff. So I think there is support in terms of like the way that you can actually function, and find out how you can get available help for your specific problems and challenges that you're facing. But also, it's also to get the conversation going. If you're struggling, you need somebody to speak to, and this is what we are as a forum. I think we talk about the individual, we talk about us being corporate, we talk about the region, we talk about the nation, and this is why we are like that. And everything is going to come from one voice and come back to one voice. So this is why it is essential that we are a forum and we operate in that way.
Thank you, Richard. So I think that's all of the questions that have come in for this evening. As I said, if you've got any more questions, then please do contact parent.participation@contact.org.uk, and we'll try to help answer those questions. If there isn't any, if I have missed any, I apologise, and we will make sure that those questions are answered with the question and answer bit that will go out with the webinar recording and the slides from this evening. What I would say is that there are also some additional slides that we have put on which will come out to you, which just goes into a little bit more detail if you want to look at it, about how forums initially started, a little bit of a history about the forums, and also about the legal side and how participation is a legal right for parents and for young people. So all of that will be included for you. I think it just...
Yeah. Can I just say, this evening it's been a wonderful thing, and I'd like to thank Ruth as well for her hard work. A lot of the information that has been shared here was partly her diligence and hard work, and it's been nice to tag along and share this information with you guys, and to the guys from Contact that are behind the scenes. We thank you very much. You've been wonderful guys, and we hope that we can empower and celebrate the next generation of our forums and forum leaders and forum participants with this webinar. And we hope that you'll be at the next forum, next conference, telling us about great successes that you've had from this discussion and many more that we'll have. Over to you, Ruth.
Yeah, so I just want to really say exactly the same, back to Richard. Thank you for co-presenting with me this evening. It's been great to have somebody else to present with, and to have that conversation. And I hope that it has been very conversational for you rather than us talking at you. Also like to thank Sue and Helen that are in the background, making sure everything works and ticks along lovely, which is great. So I totally amazed at how this works, but they get it to work, so that's fantastic. And also, most importantly, to all of you guys that have come and joined us this evening, and that have asked questions and got engaged. And as Richard said, you know, I really do hope that some of you from this session will go away and think, actually, let's give it a try. Let's see how, let's get involved in our forum, let's give it a try, and hopefully, as Richard said, we'll see you at the next national conference that we have, and you'll be able to tell us how it's, you know, what its impact it's had on your life and how you've enjoyed getting involved. But I think for this evening, it's time for us to finish and let you all get back to your evenings and enjoy the rest of your evening. So thank you everyone for attending this evening, and again, thank you Helen and Sue.
Thank you.